It is 8 o'clock on the East Coast, 7 p.m. in Mississippi, where polls are now closed, and Fox News can project that Hillary Clinton will easily defeat Bernie Sanders in that state's Democratic presidential primary, according to Fox exit polls.
On the Republican side, it is too early to project a winner, but Fox News exit polls show Donald Trump with a sizable lead over Ted Cruz, who is considerably ahead of both John Kasich and Marco Rubio.
Two big states tonight, Mississippi and Michigan. Mississippi first. Fox senior political analyst Brit Hume joins us from Boca Grande, Florida, in a very nice colored sweater tonight. Welcome aboard, Brit.
Thank you, Brit. Back.
Thanks.
Your thoughts? Hillary Clinton with a big win. It looks like by the exit polls, by the way, that African Americans overwhelmingly helping her in Mississippi, as we saw in South Carolina.
Well, that's the trend that's been demonstrated in the earlier states, and I suspect it will continue right through the general election. And I don't think there's a candidate on the Republican side that will be able to draw. The question being, of course, whether draw African Americans. The question being whether she'll be able to match the kind of turnout that Barack Obama had, which helped him enormously. As for the Republicans, it looks at this hour as if the expected winner will be the winner, not final, of course. But these races in Mississippi and Michigan have the potential to reshape the race to some extent below him. We see John Kasich taking the place in some of the polling that Marco Rubio had held, and we see Rubio fading, and we see Ted Cruz continue to come on strong. And at the end of the night, of course, the delegate totals will be either the reflection of that or not. But my guess is that Cruz will do well.
Britt, the delegate math is such on the Republican side now that realistically, the only person who can win this thing prior to a convention would be Donald Trump. I mean, the number of wins and the proportion of delegates that the other guys would have to win from this point forward, according to the experts, is unrealistic. So for everyone other than Trump, the best hope at this point, say the experts, is a contested convention. Today I talked to Ted Cruz, and he said actually that'd be fine with him. Contested convention, fine with him. He said he doesn't want a brokered convention. Your thoughts on what the likelihood is of that?
Well, that's apart from Donald Trump winning this outright, which if he continues to do well, but not as well as he's been doing, is a distinct possibility, Megan. And I think, when we get to if we get to the convention and nobody has a majority, that will be a story such as none of us has covered in our lifetime. Well, we haven't seen a contested convention at any time since I've been covering politics. It's always been a 4-day commercial for whoever won. You've seen fights over platform planks and things like that, but nothing over the nominee. That hasn't happened since back in the 50s. So this is interesting. And my sense about it is that for the mainstream Republicans, for the Republican office holders in the House and Senate who are looking at this race and thinking if Donald Trump is at the head of the ticket, that could hurt me badly. They look at Ted Cruz, particularly the members of the Senate who are up for re-election or up for election this year, where he is cordially disliked. They're not much happier about that than they are about Trump. So this is, the Republican mainstream worry, I think, is well-founded at this stage of the race.
One of the storylines, Britt, tonight is going to be how Donald Trump fares after a week, arguably, that the anti-Trump ads have increased dramatically. There's one stat that it's up from 15% spending on anti-Trump ads to 62% last week. How he does after all those attacks will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think so, Brett, and I think, look, this effort, this all-out effort we're now seeing and have been seeing for a week or 2 weeks now, is really got a ways to run. And as the ads illustrate, to some extent, Donald Trump is a target-rich environment, and we don't know yet how much harm it will do him, but it does seem so far, the numbers being what they are, to be having some effect. So that raises, of course, even more and puts in an even sharper focus the prospect of a contested convention. And it also raises the distinct possibility that Donald Trump, if he somehow wins it, will be so damaged by the attacks on him, not by Democrats, but by the Republicans, that he'll be an easy target for the Democrats in the fall. So that's another thing to keep in mind as we go forward here.
Britt, as we see Marco Rubio struggling, at least in Mississippi so far tonight. And many people are saying, you know, he stumbled. He didn't perform well on Saturday in those contests. And you got Ted Cruz saying it's time for him to get out. And you got Marco Rubio's team saying, hold on, we never expected to do that well in any of these states. We expect to win Florida. That'll give us some momentum. And then we're moving into territory that is much more favorable to us. That's their line. How do you see it?
Well, there's a new poll out here in Florida today. You may recall, Megan, that a few days ago there was a poll out that showed that Donald Trump's lead, which had been upwards around 20 points, had shrunk to 8 points. Well, there's a new poll out today that has it at 20 again. And if that poll is right, it suggests that what had begun to look like a strong move for Rubio in his home state has petered out. And if that's the case, then his chances of winning Florida obviously are much diminished. And if he doesn't win Florida, I think that's got to be the end of the line for him. If a candidate cannot win his home state, I think that's a kiss of death. And so he'll be going all out here, I'm sure. He's come from behind here before, but he's on life support at the moment.